welcome to Monday practice. So Lisa made a request last week to focus on some, I'm just going to say lower body. Does that sound about right, Lisa? So for the stuff that we do today, for Lisa in particular, if it feels like jammy on one side or like there's not quite enough space, you know, the two halves of our body are different. So you don't necessarily have to work them in exactly the same way. So it might be that you need to reach one hand forward to create a little bit more length. This is especially true for you, Lisa. So instead of having the fingertips close together, the side that has the more concave curve or less space in general, you can reach that hand forward to create a little bit more space that way. And then I've also been hearing from people and like feeling in my own life this just like low, or sometimes not so low, level of anxiety. Just like after everything that's happened, on top of like whatever surprises or, you know, trauma we've had in our life, just that feeling of like any bad thing could happen at any time. Just it's sort of like hovering there. It's just like fast moving energy inside. And one of the things that I've found is, so I think, you know, at this point we would all agree that when you work on some aspect of your life, that there's a ripple effect to other aspects of your life. Like that's how yoga works. And I think we're all in agreement with that, otherwise we wouldn't be here. And the lower body, your pelvis, the muscles around your thighs, your feet, you can think of as the foundation of your house, or the basement, essentially. And when that stuff is awake and alive and engaged in a particular way, I find that it decreases that, so that the movement of tension is inward and upward, right? So by bringing your awareness and your effort inward and downward, it has a very grounding effect. We'll also do a little bit of breath work towards the end of our practice to try to settle some of that energy. So a couple of blocks will be possibly helpful for today. And for today's practice, I would say position your screen in a way that you can see me fairly easily, so you don't have to like crank your neck to see, and also that for you to be able to hear me pretty well. So let's begin sitting and come to any seated posture that's comfortable for you. Right, so I prefer to sit like in a supported virasana. You can even sit in a chair to start if you'd like. And just settle your hands down onto your thighs. And then fold your hands over your low belly. And let your belly soften. There tends to be a lot of unconscious or conscious holding that we do in the abdomen. And also have the sense of your pelvic floor releasing downward and spreading wide. Right? So if you can close your eyes if it helps you feel this more easily. Your two sitting bones and your pubic bone and your tailbone create this diamond, this bony diamond shape of the pelvic floor. So as you soften your low belly and let the pelvic floor relax and widen, feel those four bony landmarks spread away from each other. And see if you can get a little bit more release on your in-breath and let your belly expand just really gently outwards into your hands. You don't need to force it or push it out. And then with your exhale, slightly and gently lift your pelvic floor up away from whatever it is that you're sitting on and draw your abdomen slightly inward. So just taking a few moments to work on these breath dynamics. So another thing that we see when we feel stressed or anxious is kind of a frozen breath where the abdomen doesn't move as the breath flows in and out, or what's sometimes called a paradoxical breath, where your abdomen actually pulls inward on your in-breath. So the abdomen should expand outward to create more space for more breath. Drawing your awareness inward and downward into the abdomen. The pelvic floor releases and widens with your inhale. exhale, everything drawing in and up. And then just, you can interlace your hands together on the very top of your head and press your 2 sitting bones into the ground and reach the top of your head up into the space above you. Release your tongue from the roof of your mouth so you feel both upward and downward moving energy. And then release your right fingertips to the floor, or if you're sitting in a chair, you can hold on to the chair, and then as you reach up and over to the right, anchor your left sitting bone down. Now feel how, if you walk your right hand a little further away from you, that actually helps to create more space in the right side, in the underside that's getting shortened. Just another breath here. The breath will very easily move into the left side waist, so try to spread it wide into the right lung and the right side waist. And then as you exhale, spin your ribs towards the floor, circle your arm across your face, and just walk your hands through center. Fingertips to the floor, about in line with your knees, and then press the floor down and away. Root your sitting bones down into your blocks or your blanket. Take a breath into the back of your body. And then exhale, walk your hands back, up your thighs, and make your way into the other side. Right fingertips to the floor, about in line with, left fingertips to the floor rather, in line with your hip. And then stretch your right arm over your ear. Slide your ribs back. So another tendency is for the ribs to flare, and then you can kind of crab walk your left fingertips a little further away. Think of your head as a very large top vertebrae. Another breath here. And then rotate your ribs towards the floor. Right fingertips make contact. So you're creating a little bit more space in the right side back. And then walk your hands through center. And then again, one more time. Press the fingertips down and away. And then walk your hands back. And sitting up tall. All right, so let's make our way onto our back. I'm probably going to face you this way, but for you, I would go ahead and lie down on your mat. So just, for the beginning, just for the purpose of being able to see me well, I'm going to lie this way. Take your feet a little bit wider than your mat. Your arms can go wherever feels good. And then slowly drop both legs over to the left. And let your legs initiate the movement. So oftentimes right away we want to lift the right side of the pelvis. Let your legs initiate. And then once your right thigh is internally rotated as much as it can, your pelvis is automatically going to lift to accommodate for more movement. So let your legs relax towards the floor as much as possible. Take a nice breath in. And then as you exhale, draw the bottom back ribs towards the floor. So connect to your core and then unwind. So the right side of your pelvis will hit the floor, and then your legs will come through center, and then the knees initiate. They move over to the right. And slowly go all the way down, just as much as your body will let you. And relax at the bottom. Nice, easy breath in. And then as you exhale, draw your bottom back ribs towards the floor. So you're creating some connection to the abdominal wall. And then we can do that one more time, just moving a little bit more swiftly. So we're really going to be looking at internal and external rotation, and then the muscles that support those movements. And unwind. And then one more time, all the way over to the right. Feel the bottom. Now just notice the sensations in the lower back and the back of the pelvis. Come back to center and pause. Now bring the soles of your feet together, and this is where your blocks are going to come in handy. Right? So soles of the feet together, and take your blocks about mid-height, and you can angle them inward maybe. Right? So just wherever they feel stable. So if you have the blocks angled inward, you will need to hold on to them at some point, which is totally fine. And position them in such a way that they're supporting both your thighs and your lower legs. And then just feel the curves of your spine, how there's a little bit of air underneath your low back. Let the back of your head be heavy. Feel that little bit of air at the back of the neck. And rest your hands on your abdomen once again. So exaggerate the expansion of this next in-breath. Your abdomen expands, your rib cage flares out to the side. And then as you exhale, draw your waistline narrow, almost like you're tightening a belt. So it's not so much to press your low back into the floor, but just to connect to these deeper core muscles. Now, maintaining that, so this will become more of an upper diaphragmatic breath. Press your heels together and just notice what you feel through your inner thighs. Now go ahead and take your hands to your blocks, heels pressed together. You might have a little bit less curve in the low back, and fire the upper abdominals as if you were trying to pull the ribs down towards your frontal hip bones. From there, try and lift your right leg up, or do lift your right leg up, and try to lift your heel faster than your knee, right? So you're working more external rotation, and then slowly lower it down, and then have that moment where you press your heels together, and then press the right foot down, press the right knee against the block, and lift your left heel up. So all the stuff on the inside of the left leg, the pelvic floor, the abdominal wall, are all working together. Right, and if you find that you can do this without the blocks, that's fine too. I just don't want you to hang out in your end range motion. So a little bit of engagement and support. And then the right knee lifts, or the right heel lifts rather, and then lower. So as you lift your left leg up off the floor, think of leading with your left heel. So it's a little bit of a march. We're going to do this one more time to each side. So right leg lifts. Actually, we're going to pause here. Now cross your right ankle over your left knee, and then use that right foot to pull your left leg up towards the ceiling. Right. So here you are in a right ankle over left knee position. Take your left hand behind your head. As you exhale, curl up, so you're firing more through the upper abdominals, and then take your right hand to the inside of your right knee. Now we're not pushing the knee away. You're actually going to, as you exhale, try to pull your knee up against your hand. Your hand is going to resist. That's going to create a little bit more connection from inner thighs to pelvic floor to low abdominals. Notice if you're jutting your chin forward, head heavy against the hands, and then exaggerate your exhale. Try and curl up a little bit higher. Pull your knee against your hand. Pull your knee against your hand. Inhale, ease that just a little. Exhale, curl up. Pull your knee against your hand. Yeah, flex your foot. Spread your toes. A couple more breaths just like this. Exhale, curl up. Curl up. Press the knee against the hand. Inhale, easing out a little. Exhale, curl up. Curl up. Press your right knee against your hand. Okay. As you lie back, cross your right leg all the way over your left. Draw both knees in towards your chest for a moment, and just very easily interlace your hands behind your left thigh. If that's not accessible for you, hold wherever you can. No big deal. And notice where you feel opening or stretching or whatever it feels like for you. Soften your belly. And then drop your left foot to the floor and extend your right leg so that your two thighs are parallel. So it's as if you had your right foot bent, your right knee bent, rather, your foot was on the floor, but you just lift your foot up off the floor. So it doesn't have to be higher than that or lower than that. Interlace both hands together behind your head. And before we go anywhere else, I'd like for you to internally rotate your right thigh. We don't do enough of this in yoga. So you want your kneecap and your toes pointing in towards your left leg. And then find external rotation. So just exploring the range of motion that you have in the hip joint without letting your pelvis wiggle from side to side. We'll just go one more time, wrapping in. One more time, wrapping out, and then find somewhere in the middle. On your next exhale, curl head and shoulders up. Now, open your right leg just a few inches out to the right. Your left knee is going to want to open up to the left. Don't let it. Your pelvis is going to want to turn to the right. Don't let it. And then hug your leg back to center. Maybe curl up a little higher. Let your right leg open up to the right. And then hug it back to center. Curl up a little bit higher. Open your right leg to the right. Keep everything else in your basement stable. Curl up a little higher. Open your right leg to the right. Hug it back to center. Curl up a little bit higher. One more time. Try to relax your eyes, your neck, your jaw. Curl up a little bit higher. Bend your right knee. Lower down. Soles of the feet together. Knees apart. You can come to the support of your blocks. Take a nice easy breath in. Exhale, press your heels together. Lift your pelvic floor in and up and connect to your deep abdominal wall. And pressing the outer edge of your right foot into the floor, lift your left leg up. Lead with your left heel. And then cross. So the left side of your pelvis will have to lift a little bit here. Cross your left ankle over your right knee and then pull that right leg up to center. Right hand behind your head. Exhale, curl up. Slide your left hand to the inner left knee. And exaggerate your exhale. Push your knee up against your hand. Try and curl up a little bit higher. That's 5. Inhale, head heavy against the hands. Exhale, curl up. Pull the knee against your hand. 4. Soften your eyes. Feel the connections happening in your body. How your lower limbs connect to your core. Last one, and then lie back and cross your left leg all the way over your right. And draw both legs in towards your chest. Now really try to soften in the front crease of the hips. Another breath here. Let your low back spread into the floor. And then drop your right heel to the floor in line with your right sitting bone, and then just extend your left leg long, right? So as if you had 2 knees bent with 2 feet on the floor, your left leg is up, your thighs are parallel. And then just turn your left leg in as far as it'll go and out. So you're really kind of flossing your hip joint here. And one more time. Tend to have way more external rotation than internal rotation. Find neutral. Exhale, curl up. So feel how the back of your pelvis is laying on the floor. Try not to change that imprint as you open your left leg out to the left a few inches and then hug it back to center. So I don't mind if you exhale to open your leg or inhale to open your leg, just do it with breath. And every time you pull your leg to the midline, try and curl up a little bit higher, not by jutting your chin forward, but by using the abdominal wall to pull the shoulder blades away from the floor. I lost count, I think this is the last one. And then lower down and rest. Nice breath in. Exhale, lengthen your legs. And just stretch from head to heels. And then flip over onto your belly. And so now you can have your blocks framing the top of your mat. Bring your hands to the floor in line with your heart. And tuck your chin so your forehead can come down. Lift your shoulder heads, drag your hands towards your feet, and press the tops of your feet down so you feel your thighs jump. Lift your belly, right, and like away from the floor in that direction. Drag your hands back. Inhale, coming up for air, cobra dog. Keep pulling your hands back. Keep lifting your belly away from the floor as you lower down, so you lengthen and lower. That's 3. Inhale, lengthen and lift. Slide your throat back, your shoulders back, your ribs back. Keep your legs strong. Pinky toenails pressing into the ground. 2. One more. Inhale, rise up. And then press up into a tabletop position. So if you'd like to pad the knees, I'm always a fan of padding the knees. You're like, why not? And if you'd like to have your hands up on blocks, that decreases the amount of upper body weight bearing. So if you need that at all, that could be helpful. So let's start with the right leg today. So I'll actually turn this way so that you have this view. You're going to please draw your right knee into your chest and then open your right leg out to the side. And then you'll get to that point where you're like, well, I can't move anymore. But if you press your left shin into the floor and let your pelvis open, you can get a little bit more height. And then start to internally rotate your right leg, so much so that your knee is hugging in and your heel is moving out. And then pull your knee in towards your navel. And so this can be coupled with a little bit of spinal movement. And then open, a little bit of pelvic movement as well. And then find that internal rotation. Just going slow enough that you can really feel how things are moving or not moving. So you almost like press your left knee open to lift your right leg higher. And that internal rotation. And then here, pull your right knee forward towards your navel, and you're actually going to cross your right ankle over your left knee. So I'm going to turn to face you for a moment. It looks like this, right? So you're on your hands and knees. Your right ankle crosses over your left knee, like so. Yep. Yeah, and then we're going to cat-cow here. All right, so inhale to stick your bottom up, draw your collarbones wide and lift your chest. And then exhale to pull your belly in and up and push the floor away. So just exploring cat-cow in this leg position. How does it feel? How does it change things? Does it create more opening somewhere in the body? And exhale, bow in and around. And one more time. So you can have your toes untucked for this. I think it's a little trickier. So unless you have like issues getting deep toe flexion, I would have your toes curled under. So find neutral. So if you have blocks under your hands, turn the blocks up higher. Higher, higher. You can turn them all the way up high, or you can experiment with coming all the way up onto your knees. Interlace your hands together behind your low back, slide your throat back, slide your ribs back, and then as you reach your hands away from your body, try not to flare the ribs. Right, lifting up and out of your pelvis as you root down through your knees and your toes. So one more breath in here. Unclasp your hands, exhale, hinge back. Lower your hands down to the ground and then lift your knees. So press into the balls of your feet, lift your knees. Walk your hands to the right for a moment so you get that deeper crisscross in the legs, and then you can experiment with shifting your hips back. Knees can be off the floor or on the floor depending on you. Just getting that deeper hip opening here. Same leg position that we did lying on our backs a moment ago. Shift your weight forward into your hands, and then you're going to unwind all the way. So walk your hands to the left and find this like wide-legged fold position. You're not going to be perfectly square on your mat. That's okay. Don't let your rectangular mat add to any kind of neuroses that we have. Let your head hang. Find a good amount of bend in your knees, however much feels good for you. Take a breath in. And then bend your knees and find this like wide Utkatasana essentially. Inhale, sit low, reach high. Now you're going to shift the weight onto your left leg, push off your right foot and find a moment of balance. And feel how as you reach this right leg straight out to the right, you're firing these muscles through the outer hip. And then right foot to the floor, bend your knees, find this wider squat. We're going to do that a few times. So this is a really great movement for balance as well. Right foot to the floor, get low, and then push off. Balance on your left leg. 2 more times. You can breathe in and breathe out. 1 more time, breathing in. Breathe out, pause here. Now cross your right ankle over top of your left knee. Bend your standing leg and sit back. So I'm going to turn to face you. Sorry about the butt shot. So here we are in this standing figure 4 position that we've probably been in a few times in class before. Now try to keep the position of your leg. Come up to stand and lift your right heel towards your left shoulder without using your hands. Just, see what you got. Good. And then ankle over knee, sit back. Nice breath in, stick your bottom out, lift your belly up. Exhale, stand. Pull your left heel up towards your shoulder, right heel up towards your left shoulder rather, and then one more time, standing figure 4. And all the way up to stand now. Internally rotate your right leg. Right foot to the floor, inhale, squat down low. Exhale, hands to the floor, push the legs sort of straight, let your head hang. Take a breath. Keep turning your hands to the left and find down dog here on the other side of your mat. Nice breath in. Exhale, knees to the floor. Pull, so here we are on the other side. Pull your left knee towards your navel and then abduct your left leg. So open it out to the side, open your pelvis, and then start to reach your left leg back. Try and find some internal rotation. And round 2, pull forward, lift your belly, scoop your tail, open out to the side, open your hips, circle, and one more time. And then you're going to come into that ankle over knee position, just as best you can. Toes curled under if possible. A few rounds of cat-cow here. Sorry, I was jumping the gun a little bit. Spread the collarbones wide. Lift your low belly, scoop your tail and push the floor away. That's 3. So even for myself in my own body, I can feel how much more space I have in this outer left hip. One, and then find neutral. So this is where blocks can be helpful. You can take them up to their highest height and work here. If it felt okay for you to come all the way up. Work on lifting your spine up and out of your pelvis. Interlace your hands together the opposite way if you remember, and then reach them back. Tongue off the roof of the mouth, relax your jaw. Calm, quiet breath through the nose. One more inhale. And then unclasp your hands, control your descent. Hands touch down. And then hover both knees up off your mat and walk both hands to your left. So you're off-roading a little bit. You're coming off your mat, your legs are gonna find that deeper crisscross, and then you can experiment with shifting your hips back to the space between the heels for maybe a little bit more opening. Good, and then shift forward and walk your hands to the right now so you uncross your legs and find that wide fold. So again, it's completely up to you how straight or how bent your knees are. And then find that wide Utkatasana. So sit low, reach your arms up overhead, and then you're gonna balance on your right leg. So push off your left leg, balance on your right. Drop your left foot to the floor, squat. Push off your left leg, find a moment of balance. Feel these muscles in the lateral hip fire up for 3, 2, last one. Find your balance, cross your left ankle over your right knee, and then you can take your hands together in front of your heart, sit back, stick your bottom out, inhale, lift your belly up off your thigh, exhale, try and stand, pull your left heel towards your right shoulder for 3, and again 2, and all the way up to stand, pause. Now internally rotate your left leg, reach your left foot out to the side, and return back to that squat. Inhale, exhale, touch the floor, push the legs in the direction of straight and keep a little bend to the knees. Inhale, find length, turn back to the front of your mat, and step back, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your heels and roll through to plank pose. And then in plank pose, point your right toes so your right foot will lift up off the floor, and internally and externally rotate your right leg a couple of times. Just explore that movement there. And then find somewhere in between, and then open your right leg just a few inches out to the right. Feel how that changes the load in your core, and then hug it back to the midline. Feel your inner thighs squeeze towards each other. 2 more times. 1 more time, open the right leg. Hug it into the midline, right foot to the floor. Just point your left toes. So you're not lifting way up high. Internally and externally rotate your left thigh. So really feel it come from way up high in the hip. Find neutral, and then open left leg out, like maybe to the left corner of your mat, and then hug it in for 3, 2, 1. Left foot to the floor, lower all the way through Chaturanga. Belly down, sweep your arms by your sides. Inhale, lift your head and chest. Exhale, squeeze your bottom, lift your legs. Let there be space through the back of the neck. So you can, if you want a little bit more fire through the insides of the legs, press the big toe ball mounts together, squeeze them together, squeeze your bottom, lengthen and lift. 2 more breaths. Reach your arms back towards your feet, and then stack your hands underneath your forehead and lower down and rest, forehead down or cheek to the side. So if you turned your cheek to one side, go ahead and turn your head in the opposite direction so you're releasing the neck evenly. Take a breath here. And head to neutral. Bring your hands to the floor. Inhale, coming up for air, cobra dog, or upward facing if that feels good for you. Exhale to downward facing dog. Inhale your right leg to the sky. Bend your left knee a little bit, lift your left heel, and then lift your left hip point. So I'm short in my stance. Lift your left hip point up off your left thigh, and then fan your right hip open. So keep your right leg straight, your left knee is bent. Turn your inner left thigh towards your face, and then balloon your armpits away from the floor. So notice the effect through your torso. And then draw your right knee towards your navel, and step your right foot closer towards your right thumb. Come to your fingertips. And then lift your belly away from your right thigh as you press your legs more firmly down into the ground. So you're going to roll up vertebrae by vertebrae into your lunge. Inhale, reach your arms overhead. And then exhale, your hands together in front of your heart, reach your arms out in front of you, and then a slight rotation like the axe chopper movement. Take the back of your left hand against the outside of your right shin or knee or thigh, whatever is easy for you to reach. And then reach your right arm forward. Press your right leg against the resistance of your right hand. Reach up to the sky, so a little twist here, and then reach back. So pretty stable as best you can through the lower body. And we're going to do 2 more rotations. Reach your right arm forward and up to the sky. Turn your belly to the right. Find that bit of a twist. Reach your right arm back and down one more time. Now take your right hand to replace your left hand and your left hand back to your heart. Keep pressing your right knee wide into your right hand. Now lift your right hip point up away from your right thigh. Spin your back foot flat and rise up to warrior 2. Use your whole inhale to push your right leg straight. Here you are in triangle prep. Exhale, sail up and back. So notice if one side of the pelvis is lifted or dropped. Just reach up and back. Find that same side stretch that you did seated at the beginning of class. Inhale, rise up, triangle prep. Exhale, rebend that right knee, warrior 2. Just do a few breaths here. Really find that external rotation of the right leg. And then it's essentially internal rotation of the back leg. So your legs are spiraling this way. And then pinwheel your hands to the floor. Go nice and slow. Zip your right heel to your sitting bone. Use your whole breath in to step back to plank pose. And use your whole breath out to angle back to dog pose. So lift your heels, bend your knees slightly, and then lift your hip bones, your frontal hip bones, up away from your thigh bones. Keep that in the right leg. Inhale, peel your left leg to the sky. And then I think it's nice, at least for me, you can point or flex. I like to reach through the heel, and then as you fan the hip open, try not to dump. Fan the hip open. Balloon the armpits. Wrap your triceps back. Spin your inner right thigh forward. You're just working that in warrior 2 on that right leg. And then draw the knee to the navel and step your left foot closer to your left thumb. Come to your fingertips and then feel the seesaw effect of pushing down into your feet to lift your belly off your left thigh. Good, and then roll up vertebrae by vertebrae. So belly hugs back to the spine so much that it lifts you all the way up. Inhale, reach your arms up and back by your ears. Exhale, hands to heart, and then take your hands, both of them to the outer left, whatever you can easily reach. Right, so here on a little bit of a twist, your back leg is lifting. Reach your left arm forward. So your right hand is to the outside of your left thigh. Up to the sky, twist, reach back and down. Good, 2 more times. Really try and match the movement with your breath. So here's the inhale, and here's the exhale. One more time. Now your left hand will come to the outside of the knee. So again here, lift your left hip point up off your left thigh bone. Spin your back foot flat and then open up to warrior 2. So all the while you're pressing your left knee back into your hand. Good. Use your whole in breath to push your left leg straight. Try and keep your pelvis level. Push your feet away from each other, right? So rather than being here. And then exhale, sail up and back. Reverse your triangle. Legs are strong. And then stand tall. Use your whole breath out to rebend your left knee. Find warrior 2. So without moving your left foot, you're essentially trying to spin your heel in the direction of your toes. Wrap your left thigh forward. Wrap your right thigh in a little bit. And then nice and slow, pinwheel your hands to the floor. Zip your heel to your sitting bone and use your whole breath in to step back to plank. Whole breath out to lower down. So flip over onto your back. And then find like a supine malasana, essentially. So find a squat, a yogi squat on your back. It might look something like Happy Baby, but instead of having your feet facing the ceiling, drop your heels towards your butt, just like they would be in a squat. Now keep your left leg exactly as it is, and then you can do whatever feels better with your right leg. So you can have your right knee bent and bring your foot to the floor, or you can have your right leg long. Interlace your hands around your left shin, and then just really try and soften in the front left crease of your hip. So if your right leg is long, you can kind of press it into the floor a little bit. Now I'm going to have you, so this is action without movement, it's isometric contraction. I'm going to have you push your left leg against your hands as if you were trying to straighten it on the floor. All right, so just feel where the engagement is happening there. Give me about 20% of your maximum effort. And then about 40% of your maximum effort. Try not to tense anywhere else. Give me about 60% of your maximum effort. So this may be some shaking now. Give me about 80% of your maximum effort. And then give me your safest, greatest effort for 5, push, 4, 3, 2. And then keep your hands where they are, but try to pull your left knee closer to your chest. So you're doing the opposite. Try to move your shin away from your hands. Imagine that there's a balloon between your left knee and your left belly, and you're trying to pop that balloon. Good. 5 more seconds. Don't forget to breathe. 4. Both halves of the pelvis on the ground. 3, 2, 1. And then drop that left foot to the floor and pull your right knee into your chest. And release your hands around your shin. So it's not going to be straightforward because usually when you squat in Malasana, the legs are abducted a little bit. And release your hands around your shin. It might feel really nice now to straighten that left leg because we've been in deep hip flexion for a little bit. Okay, just feel where you are and then soften the front crease of the hip. And then give some awareness to that left leg. Left side of the pelvis on the floor, left leg gently pressing down. And then start to press your right leg away from your belly against the resistance of your hands. 20% of your max effort. Amp up to 40. Amp up to 60, so maybe a little shaking now. Amp up to 80. And then give me your greatest, safest effort, trying to straighten your right leg away from you. 3, push, 2, 1. Now go right into the opposite. Try and pull your right knee way into your right armpit. Move your shin away from your hands. Pop that balloon. 3 more seconds. 2, 1, and then drop your right foot to the floor. And extend your right leg. Just roll your legs in and out. Take a breath. And then flip over onto your belly. Hands to the floor by your heart. Shoulders up and back. Inhale, come up for air. Maybe it's little cobra, maybe it's cobra dog, maybe it's upward facing. Strong through your midsection and your booty. Exhale, downward facing. Now, some of us might just choose to breathe here. Some of us might want to lower our forearms down or maybe even kick your feet up for forearm stand. So I'm going to invite hopping practice, right? So you shorten your stance. You can do either one of those options. You can shorten your stance, bend your knees, and then try to leapfrog your feet to the outsides of your hands. Do that a few times. So engage those core muscles that we were working on before. Let's do 3 more. The higher up you can lift your booty, the more you can control your descent. 2 more. Last one. Hop your feet to the outsides of your hands. And then find your squat. Good, so be in your squat. And then from here, push up to stand. Now I'd like for you to imagine you've got like a 10 or 20 pound weight on each shoulder. So don't just pop on up, really push. Dig your heels into the floor. Feel the muscles that fire to bring you up to stand. Now, and I've heard this is something that powerlifters do really well. I've never done that, but imagine that I've got my arms hooked underneath your armpits. I'm pulling you up and asking you to squat down. So you're not just going with gravity, you are intentionally contracting this tissue to pull yourself down into the squat. Now, if taking your blanket and rolling it up underneath your heels is going to be something that serves you, please do that. Now push. push to come up. Push into the big toes and the big toe ball mounds, push into the outer heels, squeeze your butt, feel your legs. And then essentially this is more of a pulling action, right? It's harder to find the contraction in this direction. You have to do it for yourself. Remember when you were on your back and you were actively pulling your knees into your chest? Try and fire your muscles in that way. A couple more times. Push, come up. Like for you to imagine that you're moving through some kind of thick substance. Honey. You're in a swimming pool full of honey and you're moving through your malasana. Even push your hands against each other to create more contraction in your body, recruit more muscles. Once you get to the basement of your squat, don't just hang out there. Try and pull yourself deeper down into it. And then one last time. Push. And come up to stand. And release your arms by your sides. Okay, so find a little bit more space between your feet and come into, some people call this horse or goddess. I'm going to ask you to stay fairly high. Take your hands to your pelvis and then lift your right heel. So you're in what's called in the dancer world enforced arch. And then you're gonna, it's not coming from the foot, your foot's along for the ride, you're gonna internally rotate your right foot. So feel how you kind of have to pivot on the ball of the foot. It's like doing the twist. Right. Both frontal hip bones stay looking straight ahead. And then find that external rotation, drop your right heel down, lift your left heel up. So hands at your pelvis will give you some information. Turn, internally rotate your left thigh. And then externally rotate at the left hip and drop your heel. Let's do that one more time on each side. Try not to bob up and down. So your thighs are working. Ground through your heels, your buns are working. Turn the right leg in as much as you can. Turn the right leg out. You're just pivoting on the ball of the foot. Ground through your right heel, fire up your right glutes, lift your left heel up. Feel your thighs, it's okay. Turn your left leg in. I know. Turn out, out. Drop your left heel down, sink down a little bit lower, and then come all the way up to stand. All right, inhale, reach your arms overhead. Exhale, a little bend to your knees, interlace your hands together behind you. Head is heavy. Fingertips to the floor. Inhale, lengthen halfway. And then exhale, walk back to downward facing dog. And then lower your knees to the floor for a moment because I would like to demonstrate this next one. So you're going to come into a position called 90-90, which is basically your legs are like in pinwheel pose. I'm going to ask you as much as possible not to use your hands to move your legs, that is. If that means that your hands come to the floor, that's okay with me, but I'd like for you to not touch your legs. You're going to lift your right heel, pull your right foot as close to your left thigh as you can, set it down, lift your left leg, swing it around, and then try and plant your left heel as close to your right shin as possible. So this part can be a little dicey on the knee. As you reach forward, you're basically going to point this foot, shift the weight onto your left leg, and swing this right knee around. So here you are in this position. From there, you're going to curl your back toes under and then come to your squat. From your squat, you're going to lift up a little bit, internally rotate your right leg. So maybe I should face you for this. Internally rotate your right leg, point, sweep around. This leg goes back to its 90. Pick this one up, it goes back to its 90. So facing you, 90-90 is going to be lift, pull in, back leg lifts, swing it around. Reach forward, squat, right knee comes down, shin comes down, sit, back leg goes to 90, front leg goes to 90. So we're going to try moving through that a couple of times. If you find it helpful to roll your mat up and get rid of it, feel free if that like confuses you with the directions. If this little part is like no bueno for your knee, then I'm going to ask you to do this part on repeat. Okay? So here we go. Reach your arms out. I actually think it's easier to clasp hands. You can hold onto a block if you want. All right, so make your arms strong. Shift back to your left hip if you need to. Lift your right foot up. Squeeze your heel over to your left leg. If you need to lean forward, no problem. Pick your back foot up, swing it around, bring your foot to the floor, heel touching your right shin if possible. Reach forward, swing your right shin around. Good. Shift your weight forward onto your left foot, curl your back toes under, lift your knee and open up, find your squat. Great. Press into your feet, lift a little bit, fake it till you make it. Lean onto your left leg, spin your right knee to the floor, untuck your toes. Sweep your right shin over towards your left leg, have a seat. So my right butt cheek is down, my left butt cheek is not. Lift your left foot, turn it in, find 90 on that back leg, lift your right foot up, open it up, find 90 on your front leg. So here you are, 90, 90. Let's do it like 2 more times maybe. Right foot, pull in, back leg lifts, swing it around, reach forward, spin your right shin out from underneath you, curl your toes under, find your squat. Lift up out of your squat a little bit, turn the right leg in, untuck your toes, sweep it through. That's it, Crystal. Oh, sorry, that's not Crystal. Elon. Good, I have you all on gallery view, so let's try one last time. Lift your right heel, squeeze it in. Lift your back leg, your whole back leg. Point your knee to the sky, plant your foot to the floor, reach forward, sweep it around. Curl your back toes, hop into your squat, lift, turn your right leg in. This is the last one. Untuck your toes, have a seat, sweep your left leg back into 90, and then reach your right leg back into 90. Whew. I think that makes pigeon pose look like a piece of cake. Let's swing around for the other side. Okay, so if you remember, you can switch the clasp of your hands. Here we go. Take a breath. You can also have your hands on the floor, remember, yeah? Lift your left heel, squeeze your heel so your foot comes all the way over to touch your right thigh. Lift your whole right leg, point your knee to the ceiling, plant your foot to the floor, get your heel to touch your left shin or ankle, and then reach forward. If you need to use your hands, it's fine. Reach forward, swing your left leg around, curl your toes under, find your squat. Good, lift up out of your squat a little bit, shift the weight onto your right leg. You're gonna pull your left knee into the floor. As you untuck your toes, sweep your shin around, have a seat on your bottom, lift your right foot, turn the right leg in, sweep it back to 90, lift your left foot, move it away from you, find your 90. 2 more times. Lift, pull in, back leg lifts, sweep it around so it's that external rotation, right foot to the floor, lean forward, use your hands if you need to, no problem. Swing your left leg out from underneath you, curl your toes under, and then you're just gonna externally rotate here to find your squat. That's it, great, Joanna. Lift, turn your left leg in, so this should be coming from the hip more than the knee. Untuck your toes, sweep your shin around, control your descent. Hover your right foot up off the floor, internally rotate it as you sweep your right leg back. Lift your left heel off the floor, move it away from you, find 90. Last time. Left heel up, pull it in, right leg up. So turn it out as you sweep it forward. Get your heel as close to your body as you can. Reach forward, sweep your left shin around, curl your toes under, squat. That's it, nice, Drew. Lift, shift the weight onto your right leg as you turn your left leg in, knee down. Point your toes, swing your shin around, slowly have a seat. Good. Lift your right foot, internally rotate, find 90. Lift your left foot, move it away from you, and ta-da. All right. Sit on your bottom. Hooray. Both butt cheeks on the floor. Feet to the floor. Upward facing table. Little bend to your knees. Pull your hands towards your feet. Squeeze your shoulder blades together and lift your chest. Couple more breaths here. And then slowly have a seat. Extend both legs out in front of you. Little bend to your knees is invited. Press your sitting bones into the floor, lengthen your spine, lean forward. Find your Uttanasana. So knees bent is great. So totally up to you how much or how little your knees are bent. Keep a little bend to your knees. Drive your heels into the floor. Lengthen the top of your head to the space between your feet and slow down your exhales. Continue to lengthen. Continue to slow down your exhales. Exhales longer than your inhales. Three more breaths. Take your fingertips to the floor. Cross yourself up to sit. And then make your way into Shavasana. So if there's anything that you can do to make yourself more comfortable, like a little pillow underneath your head or a blanket over top of your thighs. And as you make your way down onto the ground, just notice if there's more sensation, more awareness, more flow in and around the pelvis or the knees, the hips, the legs. Really relax your toes. Can you let the left leg become heavier? And feel what happens up in the left side of your jaw as you do that. Can you let the right leg become heavier? Let that sense of heaviness travel up the chain on the right side. Feel the right side of the jaw release. Let your eyes settle more deeply into their sockets. Let your arms settle more deeply into the floor. Giving yourself permission to become still. To let go. So one of my favorite explanations of stress is the distance between what is actually happening and what you think should be happening. So allow this time in Shavasana to be a practice in settling into the present moment exactly as it is. Bring your awareness to your ears and just feel the shape of your ear. The outermost curve of the ear. Down to the fleshy part of the earlobe. And feel the creases and the folds and the space inside. And keep the lips gently closed, but part your teeth. In that softening of the lower jaw, can you invite more space inside the ears? Ears are simply receiving any sounds you hear in this moment. Receiving any sounds that might be coming from inside your own body. Noticing sounds that are perhaps in the room that you're in. Receiving sounds from farther away. Simply receiving sound. Do not become involved. There's no need to judge. There's no need to do anything. you are as you are, and invite yourself to settle more deeply into the stillness. Shift your awareness now to your nose. Feel the bridge of your nose, the tip of your nose, and the space inside your nostrils. Notice the sensation of breath against your nostrils. A little bit cooler on the inhale, a little bit warmer on the exhale. Invite your breath to move a little more deliberately in and out of your body, allowing for that softening and expansion of the pelvic floor and the abdomen as the breath pulls into the body. And with a longer exhale, just allow everything to soften back into the center. And that's it. Easy inhale. Quiet, subtle breath through the nose. Longer exhale. Letting go of any unnecessary tension in the body. Allow yourself to be soft and heavy. Letting go of any unnecessary tension in the mind. Just allow yourself to be present. Completely present. After your next longer exhale, just let that go. Let go with any controlled breath. Feel the support beneath you. Feel the infinite space that lies above you. Feel your underlying connection to all things, great and small. To the other people in practice. Without changing anything, just bring a little more awareness to your extremities, and then a little movement, a little wiggle to the fingers and toes. And bend your elbows, rest your hands at your abdomen, and one at a time bend your knees and bring your feet to the floor. Move in any way that feels good to you. And then make your way onto your side and back up to sit. No rush. Connect to center, bring your palms together. Connecting to that still point inside. And as you bow to your heart, I bow to you. Namaste. Thank you for practicing.